Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Inside the Mind of Miles. We all know this is the greatest podcast in the history of mankind ever, in the world, in the United States. And the reason it is today is because I have two dynamic coaches from the Ivy League. Mike Martin, up here to my that way, and Steve Donahue, or if you're from Delco, Donahoe.
That's close enough.
We'll get to that. Steve Donahue from the University of Pennsylvania. Guys, really, I'm just humbled you guys are on the show. It's really cool to have you here. Thank you for being on.
Hey, Miles, I've been listening. This is the greatest podcast. I tweeted it that. I listen to it every morning because it seems like you do one every other day.
Well, I'm calling in a lot of favors, Steve. That's what we're doing here. All right, Coacher? Mikey, first of all, let's just get to it. The Ivy League shut down last year before anybody and shut down this year before anybody. So you guys are basically getting paid not to work, just like me.
Tim, great to be on. Thanks for having us. And we got a lot of free time on our hands. As you know, it was tough to book this podcast looking at my calendar.
Yeah, you guys did give me like every evening is open and most afternoons. So with that being said, and again, I don't know, and most of America doesn't know, what are the rules? What can you do or can't you do with your teams? Mike, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, so basically our whole team is home right now, Tim. They went home at the end of the first semester. They're taking their exams remotely right now. We'll have an extended winter break, and we'll bring them back in mid-January. We're hopeful we'll get some kind of training in for the spring semester and prepare for next year. But, we're doing a lot of just checking in with the guys on FaceTime, on phone calls, and some team meetings on Zoom. But they're all scattered about right now, and I think Steve's in the same boat.
Steve?
Yeah, we are very similar, and that's a hard part, just not being connected to the guys. And it's obviously a difficult week for the kids and us just to watch so much basketball and not be a part of it. It's excruciating for kids. I mean, this is their 4-year window, and a year and then some is now taken away. So I feel awful for them.
And a lot of people are getting the free year. But that doesn't change the Ivy League rules, correct?
How much time do we have to go?
I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, so let's just
and Mike's the Ivy League grad. I just coached in it for 25 years.
I was going to get to that. How dumb are you if you're an Ivy League grad and you decide to coach?
No
Mike?
kidding.
Yeah.
All of Mike's best friends are on Wall Street, and here's Mike.
Most of them, or some are doctors, some are lawyers, but Here I am coaching basketball. But I was just talking about the the difficulties, the complexities of these guys. They're all getting their year back, right? And they're all going to be able to play somewhere. There's just so many. You can't be a grad student and play in the Ivy League.
So when you say somewhere, you mean I'm a senior right now, and everybody gets their year back. I can't come back to Brown. I'm gonna graduate and move on.
It depends. Now it depends on your campus kind of policies about can you do more than 8 semesters, and at Brown we can't. So Tim, my guys, they're going to play and they're going to graduate from Brown and they're going to get their Ivy degree. And big picture, it's great, but they're not playing at Brown. They'll play somewhere else next year.
Can they play at Harvard or Penn or Princeton or Yale?
No, because once you graduate, you can't play a varsity sport in our league.
Okay, good.
I think there is some wiggle room that all the teams are trying to do. You get to ask kids to take a leave of absence. Essentially, get them an internship, do something that's going to better their career, not just sports oriented. And then we can figure out how to save their eligibility and play the full 4 seasons at Penn. So some teams have done that in our league already.
I had my daughter take a leave of absence. She's working at Nothing Bundt Cakes, and I've gained 10 pounds. So
those things are awesome, though.
Oh, they're good now. They're good. Steve, what dog do you have over there on your right or left shoulder? Do you have a dog?
It's not a real dog.
You don't have a dog?
That's my
listen, I have a dog. I'm just telling you, I have a dog there it is. that won't leave
I got
you
a yellow
alone.
lab puppy. We got it during the pandemic, so it's been keeping me busy.
And Mike, do you have a dog?
No, I have 3 daughters, and my wife Kristen and I, we've got our hands full with the three girls right now. Timmy,
Smart move.
Look at that one right there.
Sammy, that's Sam.
Sammy.
Who's that?
That's Sammy. She's a yellow lab. She's got her own Twitter account, Steve. She's a big deal. She's a
I
big
got to
deal.
look it up.
Oh, no. Sammy the dog.
We have Fenway. He's a 6-month-old yellow lab puppy.
Steve, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in outside of Philadelphia.
Wait.
Place called
Delco?
Delaware County.
Delco?
Delco.
And you have a dog named Fenway.
Yeah. But I
Whoa,
lived
whoa,
in
whoa, whoa.
Boston.
Did they kick you out
I
of
got
Delco?
overruled on this one. I got overruled on this one. This is my kids fell in love with the Boston sports for the 5 years we were up there.
And of course, so you were an athlete in high school, athlete in college, and you went to a Division III college. Ursinus.
Ursinus.
Ursinus. Okay.
Close enough.
Hey, I went to Mary College, and people always say like St. Mary's. I'm like, no, we're like the Virgin, just Mary. Don't mess with it.
Before she became a saint.
Yeah, we know exactly what lane we're in. So you were a basketball player, baseball player?
I was, Tim. Yep. We did some
second
good things.
baseman?
Went to the Final Four, Division III our freshman year, and Elite Eight sophomore year, and then it fell apart after that. But
it sounds like your playing time increased as the years went on?
A little bit. You're exactly right. I didn't have much. I had a lot to do with those last 2 seasons.
And a baseball player. You're a baseball player.
Yeah. Played baseball all 4 years, pitched, threw up some junk out there, mixed in.
Summer.
Not much of a heater.
Summer. Just breaking balls.
Yeah. 12-6. Hope they miss.
Thanks. 12-6. Hope they miss. Mike, you were one of the more successful players at Brown University before you became the head coach. Now, you have a fascinating track. You have a coaching family pedigree with dad, uncles, all of that fun stuff. Growing up in a sporting family like that, what was it like? And then deciding to go to Brown.
Yeah, Tim, it was awesome. So my father was a high school basketball coach for 20 years. And before I was born, he was winning state championships with Commerce High School in Springfield, Massachusetts. He sent some guy by the name Mark Hall to Minnesota who played with Kevin McHale and Trent Tucker at Minnesota. And he sent a guy by the name of Nate Blunt down to Temple in Philly. So I was always upset because I missed those years. That was before I was born. But then I grew up going to all his practices, all his games, and it had such an impact on me. And it took me to Brown. And like you said, instead of going the Wall Street route and going finance, I started coaching hoops.
We'll get to the brains of the thing later, but let's just say this. How old were you when you started going to your dad's practices?
As young as I can remember,
yeah.
3, 4 years old. And there's pictures of me just rolling around on the ball, on the court, trying to rebound for the guys, sitting at the end of the bench. And I had great memories watching my father coach his high school teams.
And so my son Gabriel and my daughter Ava used to come to the practices, and it was, they were probably 6 and 8 or 6 and 9. And why do you yell at Greg? Doesn't do any good. Doesn't do any good. Like, just give me a lecture in the car on the way home. You guys are both from large Irish Catholic families. True?
True. Very true.
Steve, how many kids in your family?
One of 7. Family? Yeah, one of 7. Mom, dad, all from Philadelphia. And my dad was a banker, not a coach. You
became a coach.
I did more sitting at the bar with them than I did on the basketball court, like Mike, for those years. But he's a great sports fan for sure.
And Mike?
Yeah, and I have 2 older sisters, Sheila and Maura, but my mother's actually one of 15 children, and then my father's the oldest of 7. So huge extended family, and
your grandma's a saint.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim.
So my dad's one of 7. I'm one of 5. And my grandmother lived to be 101, Bertha Miles, right?
Wow.
My mom was Alice. My grandma was Bertha. You'd think I could play golf. but I can't. But my grandmother had 36 grandchildren, 18 grandsons, 18 granddaughters.
Wow.
And I was one of the younger ones, but she lived next door to us when I was growing up. And she'd come in and she'd say, Timmy, you're my favorite brown-eyed grandson. And I just float out, right? 6 months, Timmy, you're my favorite brown. And I was like, I'm so good. Like all these. So finally, after about 6 years of this shit, my brother says, hey, dummy, you're the only brown-eyed grandson out of 18. What?
That's crazy.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. For an Irishman, for crying out. So, we all grew up the same way. We decided to get into coaching, right? So, Mike, let's just start with you. You go play for a year in some obscure country
it's not an obscure country. Maybe an obscure league, but
okay, obscure, okay. The third division
Ireland.
in Switzerland.
I was in Ireland.
In Ireland, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't get paid very much.
I paid them.
Well, okay, as long as they get you there and back, it's a good trip. So wait. So you come home, you're with Glenn Miller, and you end up Brown, Penn, and within 8 years of graduating from Brown, you're the head coach at Brown. I have one question: were your student loans paid off?
No, they weren't. They are now, though.
Okay.
So yeah,
is that a forgiveness thing? Like if you come back and coach, we'll just forgive the debt?
No forgiveness.
Okay.
There should be. Yeah, but
work that in.
But I've known Steve for 20 plus years because he was the head coach at Cornell when I was playing at Brown. And as you mentioned, I played for Coach Miller, who's a mentor and such a huge influence on my career. Went over and played in Ireland, and while they didn't pay me, they had Guinness for us, so it worked out well. And then I came back. I was a volunteer assistant coach in our league. There's 2 full-time assistants, so the third assistant is volunteer. I was young, and I was very fortunate. Coach Miller gave me an opportunity as a 22-year-old coach, and even though I wasn't paid, I was on the floor and I was on the road recruiting at the Division I level. It was an incredible, gesture by him. I'm so he's done so much for me, including that. And then we had an interesting experience at Penn, and I learned so much down there. What a great place it is, and then fortunate to come back here, as you mentioned.
And Steve, what kind of player was Mike at Brown? Solid?
Mike was, I love to say he was lousy and all that, but he was. You're not surprised that he's the head coach because he played like a coach. He was very cerebral. They had a really good Brown teams. I remember one time Mike hits a buzzer beater to tie a game, like a desperation against Penn. And I just remember his reaction wasn't of a typical kid making a buzzer beater. It was like, yo, calm down. We got overtime now. Like it was way beyond his years. So I was thinking, I've been in this league since you were about 8 years old, Mike. 1990. How old were you?
I was 8.
There you go. I've been coaching this since he was 8, 30 some years ago.
But Steve, we've seen you on TV. We've seen you on the internet, and you splash jumpers, and you beat everybody. You're more fit. Like the age is just a number, dude. You're a kid.
I'm allowed to get older. I just can't get old. All right? You can't go there.
Steve, and both you guys have done this, quite frankly, took difficult jobs. And Brown's a difficult job. I mean, if you look at the historic tradition of Brown and Cornell, and you guys have flipped those things on their head a little bit, or a lot of it in my book. And it took some time to build Cornell, Steve. And then when you did, 3 straight league championships, 3 straight NCAA tournaments, a Sweet 16 tournament, or a Sweet 16 appearance, in the NCAA tournament, had to be gratifying, had to be, a certain time in your life that was really great. Tell us about that.
Yeah, just the 10 years there, you have to realize it wasn't an overnight success. I was not a very good coach for numerous years during that stretch. I was just fortunate. I always say this, and I don't mean this now, but back then I felt the best thing about Cornell was they didn't care about basketball. It was the worst thing about Cornell as well. But at the time, for me, they allowed me to just grow as a coach. And a guy named Andy Noel, every year after losing year, come to me and say, "You're doing a great job," and add another year to my contract.
He was your athletic director.
Yeah, still there now. And he believed in what we were doing, even though the results were not there. And it took 5-6 years of figuring things out and getting better. And then, like every place, we got the right people. We got them in there, and we figured it out, and we did a good job from that point.
So I've got 3 names written now: Jeff Foote, Ryan Whitman, and Louis Dale.
Yep.
You enjoyed coaching those 3 guys, didn't you?
Yeah, Tim, they're literally the 3 best players in the history of the program. And all 3 of them have interesting stories. Ryan Whitman, son of
Randy.
his dad, Randy, really didn't get recruited. Had a bad leg injury his senior year. And
Eden Prairie High School was he at?
Eden Prairie High School, Minnesota. And that's where we ended up going, mostly Midwest for our kids. Cornell's more of a Big Ten type of campus. But Ryan came and, he's ended up being the 5th all-time leading scorer in the history of the league, 2,000-point scorer, incredible. Louis Dale sent his tape to us senior year in the spring.
How about that?
Came on his official visit with braces and a $450 check for his deposit. We didn't really beat anybody out. He was a player of the year in the league 18 months later. And then Jeff Foote mom was an ICU nurse. We had a kid named Khalid Gant, a severe neck injury. And I spent a week with her. And she says, "Hey, my son's kind of plays basketball."
How about that?
He happens to be 7'1", and ends up being defensive player of the year and an NBA player. So,
and the kid in ICU got better.
Kind of lucky. Say that again.
And the kid in ICU got better, right? She was a good nurse.
He did get better, but it was a crazy story. Never played basketball again. It was we can do a podcast on that alone, because Khalid Gant is a remarkable young man. And I was texting with him about a month ago, actually. He lives in Paris, and he's survived it, but he's never really played basketball again.
But you ended up with an NBA player.
How about it? And if we never get that kid, I don't know. Like, that's the thing that you do. You do all this hard work as coaches, and you try to do everything right. You got to get lucky. And maybe luck comes with, doing everything you can to make luck happen.
I was at a place, Southwest Minnesota State, and one night I'm there late. It's my first year, and one of the custodians comes in, and he's taking out your trash, he's vacuuming, and I'm just piddling around writing some notes to recruits, and he says, Tim, my nephew's quite a player, right? And and honestly, as a coach, you hear my nephew's quite a player
every day.
Plenty, okay, yeah. So I'm like, well, tell you what, by this time, I'm like, I tell you what you do. You get me tape, you get me his mailing address, right? Any information about him, and I'll reach out and do it. And by the way, guys, Harry Rosenberg is calling me right now. Harry Rosenberg. He doesn't know our schedule? What is he? Why is Harry Rosenberg bothering us? He's a Penn grad. Is he? I mean, is he a volunteer assistant coach for you, Steve? Harry Rosenberg?
He should be. He gives me enough advice. At least he thinks he does.
Harry Rosenberg lives in Beverly Hills. He's
my
a
West
former
Coast.
Bear Stearns guy. Now he's a volunteer assistant coach for Penn, living in Beverly Hills. So the guy says, take a look. So he gets the film. The kid is just raining threes. Number 1 3-point shooter in Indiana.
Wow.
Had lived in Marshall, came all-time 3-point shooter we had in 4 years. And Fran, our janitor, gave him to me. And it was,
well, honestly, there's a lesson there that, you're willing to listen. Seriously.
Well, yeah.
Don't dismiss some guys are.
Yeah, don't dismiss any way, shape, or form. So Mike, you've had you had, how about this? The most successful player in your 4-year run, right? but yet you're having more success as a coach. First 20-win season ever for Brown 2 years ago or a year ago?
2018, 2019. But the thing about Steve, and I love to tell this story because, he obviously, like, you work really hard and you make your luck, and you also are a good person. My last college game was at Cornell, Tim, and we played Cornell, and it was a close game, and they had beat us at our place, and we beat them at their place. And I remember talking to Steve after the game, after we beat them, and here I am, this young, idiot, 21-year-old college guy, and I go to talk to the head coach of the team we just beat, and he helped me find an opportunity in Europe. Like, he connected me with people to pursue my, crazy dreams to play professional basketball in Europe. But you think about working hard, making your luck, but also being a good person, and it comes back to you. And obviously those teams he had at Cornell, I was an assistant at Penn. I mean, they were so good, and, Sweet 16, but, trying to guard them and trying to, I think they shot like 44% from three as a team for the year, Steve. Is that right?
Yeah, led the nation.
I mean, amazing, Tim. Really.
46 in the league. Not that
46 in the league.
We didn't shoot 46 from the foul line, which is why I'm a professional podcaster now. But
good shooters make you look like a good coach.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, Steve, do you mind, we have a group that we love, our motley crew, a bunch of coaches from everywhere, and we've discussed it before, and Porter Moser was on it earlier on our podcast, and I hope our numbers are much better than Porter's, but we'll just see how that goes. But, as you look at doing this, Steve, you ever think about talking about offense for us a little bit, maybe giving us some insight to why you guys are so good? It seems like everybody wants to volunteer information out of the 20 coaches involved, but yet we don't hear much offense from Steve.
Fran O'Hanlon always says there's no secrets in basketball. I'll give you everything. You guys
sure.
Most of my chops over there.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think of that?
I'm still waiting. I emptied our playbook on those Zoom calls.
I took all the notes too, and I said thanks.
I know. Yeah, folks, and you have to understand, two competing coaches honestly sharing openly over and over is pretty fun to watch, and it was good stuff. Now, Mike, you are different. Steve is an offensive-minded guy, without question, and everybody wants an even blend. But you seem to have really done an outstanding job in the Ivy League defensively. Not that your offense isn't up to, but really the way when I've watched your teams, and it was funny, my son, who's now a sophomore in high school, Steve's got a son and some older children, and you've got 3 little girls, but we're watching, I think it was the semifinals of the Ivy, and my son was like, hey, what league is this? These guys are really good. I'm like, well, this is the Ivy League. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, the Ivy is really good. And you guys have all, and without question, and Steve, you can speak to it, but I think the Ivy League has accelerated and ramped it up. James Jones at Yale, Tommy and Armour at Harvard, I mean, the league is really good. But Mike, have you thought we have to be different than everybody else? How we're going to make our imprint on all this? Tell me about you taking the job and figuring out how to be successful, and you have been in the Ivy League.
Well, thank you. We've had a couple good years, and I feel really good about kind of direction and the momentum. But it took some trial and error, Tim, and similar to what Steve said at Cornell in his early years. I tried a lot of things and failed, and we had some seasons where we certainly wish we would have been a little bit better. But I think we've figured, we certainly haven't figured out, but I think we have an idea of the type of player that's going to be best for us. And for me as a coach too, like the guy who's going to respond best to the type of coach I am, and the guy that's going to respond best to the environment here at Brown. And we've gotten a bunch of really tough, competitive, versatile defenders, and we've really become a good defensive team. And, I think we're different in how we guard a lot of different things, on the ball, off the ball, how we guard the post. But it's because we've recruited guys who have really bought into the identity of being a great defensive team. And, it was really just the last 2 years, but we feel like we've kind of created a little bit of an identity with being a very good defensive team. We think that's our best chance to compete with guys like, at Penn and Harvard and Yale and throughout our league. I mean, our league, as you said, it's very competitive.
Yeah.
I think Tim, I think that's a really good lesson. Like, Mike's a really good offensive coach. I'm telling you, they run great stuff, but we're all based what we can do on where we're at and what's best for those kids and who can you attract. Unless you're at Duke, North Carolina, all the majors. Other than that, you got to figure out what's best for your place and do it. And Mike's doing that. Mike's figuring out a way that he can attract the best player to allow him to compete at the top of our league. And I think you can't just always do what you want or what you're good at. You got to figure out what's best for your program.
No doubt. Mike, do you ever say to an opponent, never lose to a food, never lose to a color? Just asking. I just asked. All right. You guys really, Cornell was the big red. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you got rice. You got plenty of foods and colors out there, man. So
Not in our league.
There's certain
That's
rules.
Crimson,
red,
green, red.
crimson.
Big green, big red. Yep. Yeah. Just, Stanford is a color, right? I mean, or the Cardinals a color. Stanford's a guy.
Yeah, Cardinals a color. Yeah.
Stanford's the guy that couldn't get into Brown.
I think so. I think that's right.
Something like
I believe it's the Cardinal, is it not?
Yes, it's the Cardinal. And that's the color.
Why they have a tree, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the West Coast part of it. You got to have a little love out there. You're not far from Berkeley. So, Steve, going to help you out here with scheduling.
Please.
You win 8 straight bye games. 8 straight teams.
You're not supposed to let that out.
8 straight teams pay you to come play them.
Now you're killing me.
8. Well, no, the odds are you're not going to win any. Like, the odds are it's going to go the other way. So anybody with any brains would schedule you right away. So of those eight, see, I didn't go to Brown or Penn or Cornell or Eurasis, but Earth's Sinus, and you know where you went. And I'm saying that odds are you're not winning like the next one. Like, now.
Yeah, right. Somebody should jump on it.
I agree. So I agree. So my point is there one more fun than the other?
Honestly, that this time of year, and our league has had great success against high majors, and it's why the league has risen so much. I do feel we're slightly different than typical teams that they bring in. That helps, and we're good. We got talented kids, and we caught guys on their first year, their first game, after break. Like, there's an algorithm we use that allows us to have this success.
He's got his Wharton guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're crunching the numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, at least the last Wharton guy I knew that became a coach, Fran McCaffrey, took a high major job so he get paid a little bit.
That's right.
So
White Magic, Philadelphia.
That was the deal, was it? So as you guys put this together, I mean, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you, like, there's a certain level of frustration. How do you deal with it with you and your guys?
So I'll try. I mean, the first thing is, you just want to support your guys as best you can. And that's we do that every day. We've done that. I've done that for 15 years. Tim and Steve, you guys have done that for 30 plus years as coaches. You try to support your players as much, and your staff as much as you can every single day. Now, to Steve's point, it's a lot harder when you're not with them every day and you're not connected and you're not in the gym with them and you can't take them to lunch. But technology's been great, to allow, at least to try to stay connected in some way. And, you try to answer their questions. The problem, guys, is there's this thing, there's not a lot of answers to. There's tons of questions, but there's not a lot of answers. And, we're both at great institutions. We represent an incredible conference. But this has been hard. This is a hard time. I'm stimulated. I'm entertained watching, the rest of the country play, and I'm learning so much, watching, but and I'm fired up for next year. I can't wait. And as a coach, I hope I'm coaching for a long time. But it's the players, they're going through it. They're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and all their peers are playing hoops.
Yeah.
And, their identity is, yes, Ivy League student, absolutely, but it's also Division I basketball player. And that's what I think makes it hard. But, Tim, we take it one day at a time and try to, like I said, it comes back to how do we support these guys as best we possibly can.
So, Steve, I don't know if you saw the news today, but the Knight Commission met with Mark Emmert and the NCAA to say that FBS football should break away from the NCAA,
Wow.
their own separate business entity.
Wow.
And keep NCAA basketball, under the umbrella.
Right.
What do you see in the future with name, image, likeness? How do you feel, or what do you think the direction, or what do coaches need to do, or fans need to understand? Let's talk to, coaches like to watch this show because they like to hear from coaches. Fans like to, watch this show because they want to hear from their guys,
Yeah.
So that's who you're talking to.
Yep. Listen, I think everything that's come down, whether it's no sit-out transfer, name, image, and likeness, is all on the surface, makes total sense and fair for the student athletes. The issue is we have a certain product right now that's good for everybody. It's good for coaches. It's good for fans. It's good for players. My fear is that we're messing with this model, and it's just not going to look like this in 10 years. And we're going to look back and say, like, wow, this has really changed. And it could be, like you just mentioned, football breaking off. There's a chance that we're looking 10 years now that it's just 5 major conferences playing basketball.
Let's hope not.
Because of the money and the aim, image, and likeness. Separates the haves from the have-nots. And I know it already does. This will exasperate it even more. And as a fan, that disappoints me.
And college basketball is so much more interesting to me than college football in terms of this. Is that, you get 2-3 good players at Brown or McNeese State or Penn or wherever, Colorado State, and you can go beat anybody,
Yep.
And here's the one thing that concerns me. First of all, I believe in name, image, likeness. I would prefer, instead of a player going out and cutting their own deal, why don't we do more for the families to be able to travel to come watch their games, and make it more of a holistic of the extended family of the kid, and say, hey, here's what you get for your cost of attendance. You have your financial aid, but we're also going to do this for your family to come watch you play or travel with you, and they decide how they're going to do that, and really allow that, instead of going out and let, I imagine if I'm a football coach at Nebraska, which is where I still live in Lincoln, and the mall's open till 9:00, and the guys are doing a autograph session till 9, but we're staying at the hotel. We're going to do dinner at 7 and start a movie at 8. And then the wide receiver, running back, star defensive end, and quarterback show up at 9:45. Like, everybody's going to be like, that's not cool. And so I don't like them being,
I agree
not
with that.
being able to, but I just don't like the idea. I think there's other ways that we can figure out how to make it better for them. The other thing is, so let's just look at Colorado State for this is my career, Colorado State and Nebraska. And I'm just going to take 3, 6, or 7 all-league players were Division I transfers, every one of them redshirted. One only a semester, the other 6 a full year. So could we hurt our quality of play? Like, you've got that year to adjust academically. You've got that year. And I know you guys don't deal with it, but you do deal with it. You see it. And you lose guys.
We've had transfers. We've had red shirts. Yeah.
But, and you lose guys. And so but you look at this, and that year out, you acclimate academically. You kind of understand what your friend base looks like. And you work on your game. honestly. Now you come in ready to roll as a redshirt. And I just think it might hurt our – just tell me your thoughts on that, Mike. What do you see on – I think it could hurt our quality of play as an overall product.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And there's so many, you think about you talk about Colorado State and Nebraska, but there's so many programs that have had success with guys who have transferred and sat out. And like you said, there's so many things they're getting used to that first year, and they've gone on and they've become really good players. And, oh, by the way, they're older and they're more experienced, and they've got just more comfort in that system and on that campus and in that city. So, you know what? Everyone's in a rush right now. I guess to have the access to play, and it's going to happen, and we've got to adapt and we've got to deal with it. But I don't think that redshirt year, that sit-out year, is such a bad thing.
It's not
for a kid. And oh, by the way, depending on where you're coming from and where you're transferring into, how many credits are transferring in right away? A lot of them might need the extra year academically.
Well, there's two things I used to tell guys. Because when, it just occurred to me when I was at North Dakota State, we went from Division II to Division I, and we actually redshirted 17 out of 18 recruits. It was kind of out of necessity because the first group we had, the only way they could play in the NCAA tournament was to redshirt, was to come in their fifth year, and they made it to the NCAA tournament. Wow. So it was the first team since 1976 to make it in their first year of eligibility. But I said to them too, let's say you play 5 years. Let's just say you got to play 5 years. What do you think your stats would be your fifth year compared to your first year? Let's just average 6 points a game as a freshman. Dude, you're going to average 18 as a fifth year guy.
Fifth year senior.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
If you're greedy at all, go get them, go get them, go get them.
I think that's a great point.
Well, let me tell you this, guys. Who are we picking to win the NCAA championship this year? Mike, who you got?
Some teams haven't played yet. Can we wait?
No, can't wait. And you can't pick an Ivy League team either. Can't pick your league.
Well, Steve. Well, yeah, I knew that. I don't think that would be about that. Steve's watched every game that's been.
Okay, we'll start with Steve. We'll buy some time for Mike.
This is the year that anyone literally could win it. Now, Gonzaga to me has proven if they stay healthy, because they're older. They're talented. They have a transfer. They have a super freshman. There's no weaknesses there. Now, could they be upset? Sure. But a team like Richmond, they get anybody on a neutral court. They're really good. St. Louis is really good. There's so many teams that I think, in particular, if you don't have to play on the road, and who knows what the NCAA tournament will look like. But if you ask me right now, Gonzaga is really, really good.
Yeah. Mike, you got anybody in the East you like?
Hard to go against Gonzaga. I'd love to do – I mean, since I'm an East Coast guy, I'm not from Philly, even though some people think I am.
Nobody ever accused you on this show of being from Philly. You know why?
Don't even try. Don't even let them think he's from –
it's the best podcast. We wouldn't even – you're a Boston Mass guy, basically. I mean –
New England. Exactly right.
I'm sorry, New England. That's only 7 states. Go ahead.
You know what, Villanova, because Jay was so good to our good friend Johnny Gal the other night, and
I think that's a big leap of faith.
I like the Villanova team, and
nobody likes Baylor.
That's this Saturday. I can't wait to watch that Gonzaga Baylor game. That'll be great.
Baylor's really good, no doubt.
Baylor's really, really good. Yeah, Baylor.
Illinois is very good. Iowa's very good.
Iowa's good.
There's so many good teams. There's so many great cultures. There's so many great programs. But I'll tell you what. And John said it. The Villanova, what they've got, what Jay has going with his culture and with his program, I think it's pretty impressive. And,
you're trying to get a game, aren't you? You're trying to get a game.
I'll play anyone right now. I'll take anyone who wants to play. We'll play them.
All right.
We get Villanova every year. You can play them if you want.
All right. True or false? All right. Palestra, best place to coach and play. True or false? Mike?
It's true.
Steve?
Yeah, it is true, Tim. And I think for the fan who hasn't been there, you got to get there. And I've coached at Cameron, Fog Allen. I've been to Hinkle. Those are the ones that come up. it fits 9,000. And I always say, the guy in the last row, I literally can make eye contact with him.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 9,000 people in this damn arena. It's a place where the fans, the coaches, and the players all have an impact on the game because it's that intimate. It really is.
My nephew, Bryce Roush, who did not play high school basketball or anything like that, but did work in Philadelphia for a number of years, had heard me talk about it and got into a game. And he's like, it was so good. It was so fun.
No, what stinks is a visiting coach sometimes grabs Philly guys like Babs and sticks them behind his bench, and he jumps ship on the home team. That's one thing I don't like.
I've seen some different people act supportive. You know, usually they're businessmen, Harry, Babs, that appear to be supportive, and then if you get them a better ticket, they're just shedding colors right there. They are
exactly.
So, Tim, let me tell you one of my favorite Palestra stories. Well, first of all, so any recruiters listening to this, the Pizzatola Center is better place to play.
Well, now.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, we're just talking over the course of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. History.
But,
so
nothing like the Pits.
But my first time ever being there was when I played, you know, and it was just we played. Coach Stumpf was at Penn, and they had great teams. And just going down there, you fell in love with the place as a player and as a coach. But my favorite story, I don't know if Steve, it was his first or second year back as the head coach at Penn. My father texts me or calls me on the day of the game and said, hey, we're driving down now. Coach Donahue got us a parking spot behind the Palestra. So my dad called Steve and asked him, you know, not that Steve has nothing else to worry about that day.
Yeah.
But he took care of him. My dad parked right behind the
got him the best spot.
So
then he kicked our ass.
Fran
Dumpy again.
At Penn and at Temple, is there a better mustache in the business?
And Dumpf?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the best.
I mean,
it was the best.
Full grown, poofy.
He had that for years. He pumped that for 50,
he did
20,
for a long
30
time.
years.
There's not a nice man in the business either. He is one of the nicest guys.
Mike talked about him getting in at 22. I didn't make a dime coach until I was 33. And thank God that this place, the spot was volunteer, or Dumpf would have never hired me at 28 or whatever I was.
Yeah.
And I owe unbelievable almost everything I've done to him and Franny O'Hanlon, two of my mentors for sure.
Well, and talk about your mentors. Steve, what do you think is the number one thing you took from those guys?
Well, it's interesting because Franio is someone I admired as a player at Villanova, and he asked me to come be an assistant at a high school with him, and I was like, I couldn't believe he even knew my name and wanted me to come, and then just there's a couple things that he's all about just the purity of the game and how to play it and what it means to play the right way. He gave my mind, which I never even thought about before, Franio, because he played in Europe forever and just had a great basketball mind on how the game should be played. I got to Dumpf, and what Dumpf wasn't necessarily an X and O guy, and he'll tell you that, but what amazed me about him is how he dealt with everybody around the program in such a way. He knew everybody's name. I tell the story all the time. We have our first banquet there, and we're not very good, but there's 90 people at the banquet. And he literally took the time and went around on the podium and thanked everyone by name.
Wow.
I was like blown away. But it's so genuine. And he told a little story as he went to each person. And like that just tells you like how deeply he cares about others and how he treated them. That's my takeaway from Dumpf for sure.
I would say his level of authenticity is through the roof. You know what I mean?
It is.
Mike, tell us, like, growing up in a coaching family, certainly dad's a mentor, an idol, you know, other guys you played for as you've gone into business and worked for guys, you know, who's made these huge impacts on your coaching career?
Yeah, I mean, so many, Tim, and you know, guys like you two guys. I mean, honestly, you know, you guys have been great, but and there's so many others, you know, who.
Well, that was a plane ride from Vegas to Kansas City. That we probably can't go into on the show.
Mike, you probably didn't say a word the whole flight, right?
You didn't get a chance to work it in.
Not a gallon, 10 miles on it. No way. But
Porter
yeah.
too. Porter held his own.
But my father, clearly, just from a young age, and then Coach Miller. I mean, he recruited me to Brown, believed in me as a player, believed in me as a coach, and I'd learned so much. So much of what we do is from his philosophies of how to prepare for an opponent, how to practice habits, how to play on both sides of the ball, and he's had a huge influence on me. And he was let go, Tim, in his halfway through his fourth season at Penn, and I wasn't that old at the time, 25, 26, and here I am, like, my mentor and boss, gets let go at Penn, and the emotions of that conversation, and I feeling like I let him down as an assistant, and then Jerome Allen became our interim head coach, and he and I have a bond to this day from those 2.5 years that we worked together. And what Jerome gave me was an opportunity to, really coach. And I learned so much from him. And he just had an unbelievable way about him. And I was fortunate to be influenced by both those guys. But, so many others. But my father, Coach Miller, and Jerome would be absolutely three big ones.
Coach Donahue, as we wrap up, you get a chance to take one road game in the world. Where are you going to go take your team and play?
I think it's the obvious ones are really good, like Duke and Kansas. Those facilities and those
are fun.
I think
places,
all kids. Yeah, I mean, kids think of those places. That's probably the two main spots I love for those kids, and we try to do that. Try to get them to experience. Madison Square Garden's really cool for kids. New York City, and so those are the three main ones I would say.
Michael?
I've never been to Fog Allen, so I would say that would be the one. I've coached at Cameron. I've coached at Hinkle. I've coached at Rupp Arena as an assistant, but Fog Allen it would be one that I'd love to get to.
Well, you won't forget it when you do. I've been down there and had my ass kicked, but it's a really cool place. And guys, this has been a really cool podcast, and it's only going to add to the aura of what Inside the Mind of Miles is building and becoming in a worldwide basis. So thank you very much for being on. It was fantastic, and this has just been great for me to chat it up with you guys. I feel awful that you guys don't get a chance and for your players to compete. If people understood that hard, like it used to break my heart to miss a practice in high school.
Yeah.
And so I just feel for you guys from my heart. And I just appreciate you guys coming on today.
Well, Tim, thanks a lot and congratulations. This is not easy, seriously, doing a podcast. It may come easy to you because you can talk to that painting behind you, but it is like I walk my dog and I listen to you and I'm laughing and then picking up stuff about coaches, which we all love to do anyway. So thanks for having me on, Ed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tim, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on, and can't wait to hear your next one.
Well, I can't wait till he stops doing this and he's coaching his team again so we can move on.
And by the way, I've had 2 texts from Harry Rosenberg since we've been doing this, since he called. So, guys, for the love of the Motley Crew and for the love of the Ivy League and college basketball, thanks for being on Inside the Mind of Miles.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to our discussion with Steve Donahue out of Penn and Mike Martin out of Brown, 2 tremendous coaches, high-level guys, aren't they, Coach Eaton? What do you think about these guys, my man?
You know, I'm a sucker for the Division III guys, and these guys are like the Division III of us. So it's always fun to watch and listen to them talk about the different things that they got to deal with that we kind of take for granted sometimes.
No doubt. You've had a chance to be at Louisville, Arkansas, Colorado State, and Nebraska. So you've operated at a real high level of basketball. And I've had every level of basketball known to man. And, the Ivy, if folks just watch the Ivy League, I think they'll be really impressed with just the level of play, like just how well these guys play and execute. And there's no doubt in my mind that just, it has grown and developed over time. and it's still got its cool traditions. You know, they play Friday, Saturday, back-to-back travel partners and the whole thing that way. And it's a lot of fun to watch. You know, there's and these two guys, Steve Donahue. How about Donahue? Okay. The guy, did you notice? Like, he's watching the game while we were doing the podcast.
His eyes.
His eyes are very much like he can't turn off basketball. I was going to call him on it. I thought it'd be way better to do now. Because I didn't want to know what game he was watching. But I mean, the man, like, we text on a regular basis, and he is constantly watching basketball. And you had to like Mike Martin, because that Boston, Mass, dry humor, you know, like,
you love that. But you know, you messed up. You said there were 8 states in New England. I mean, you got to.
Well,
you got to
the land mass of South Dakota, for crying out loud. I mean, so what if I get confused? 6, 8, 12, 10. How many are there?
It's 6.
6. All right, I'll remember that next time. I'm sorry to. What hat are we wearing today to rep the Northeast?
It's another Pawtucket one. They had their closing sale this weekend. So
every time with Pawtucket.
I got the Mickey shirt.
Oh, where's he at? I don't see Mickey.
He's in the background.
Oh, I see. There he is.
So.
And you're a Disney freak, Lord of the Rings freak.
Yep, I know.
Bobblehead freak, minor league baseball freak. Okay, you're a freak of nature. So tell me this: in Disney, in every building, there's either a picture of Mickey, a statue of Mickey, right?
Or what they usually do is make it hidden. So then you gotta pay attention. So they'll hide it somewhere.
So like in the Milk House where the NBA played, there's a little stuffed animal right up in the rafters.
Yes.
I mean, I'll look for that damn thing for an hour one day when I was the D2 coach. I was supposed to be scouting the game in front of me, and somebody drops that knowledge on me, and I'm out. You know, I'm like squirrel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That guy. So Ivy League coaches in Division I, you tell me there's some out there.
There are actually nine current grads from Ivy League schools that are
couldn't get another job, so they decided to be basketball coaches.
It's like what Mike Martin said. You know, all of his classmates were doctors and lawyers and on Wall Street, and he can just coach basketball.
Yeah.
So,
well, I hope they're paying for the vacations over in what do you call that stuff? Either the Hamptons up there.
Yes. Yeah, so we got 9, so we're gonna quiz your knowledge on Ivy League, coacher. I know you're just from, you know, a small town, and
South Dakota.
You know, you finished right in the middle of your class. So
7 out of 13.
7
I got jacked on that deal, but whatever. One guy dropped out.
So we're gonna go through all 9 of them with you. So we'll see how good you are here. So
I know Mike Martin. Mike Martin at Brown.
Good. We're 1 for 1 right now.
Okay.
And you had somebody else on your podcast, so I really hope you can get Fran McCaffrey.
Yeah, Penn, Wharton School of Business. Wharton.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so right now, next question is going to be, where is Mitch Henderson at?
I know him. Mitch. He's at Princeton, and he graduated from Princeton.
Yep.
3 for 3.
Okay, next one, we'll go Brian Earl.
No clue. Who is that guy?
Cornell head coach right now.
Did he take over for Steve when he went to?
He did when he went to BC.
Yeah. So Ivy League guy in the Ivy. Okay.
Ivy League guy in the Ivy. The next guy I have is Mike Brennan.
Oh, I know Mike Brennan. He's in the Patriot League.
Yep.
I think there's a couple in the Patriot League. Well, Catholic's a Division III, right?
Yes.
They're not. Yeah.
You're close at same city.
And George Washington's in the A10. I don't know. Where's he at?
American.
Took over for the guy who went to Old Dominion, didn't he?
Yes.
Jeff, who's at Virginia. Okay. Missed. Is that my first miss?
Oh, you missed Brian Earl. So you've missed 2 right now. So
overrated contest.
Well, I'll give you an easy one. Joe Scott.
Joey Scott's at Air Force. I know that. Okay. He was at Princeton. He was at Denver. He was at Air Force on bookends there.
Yes.
It's his whole career.
And he's running the same thing the whole time.
He's a tough Jersey Shore guy. Played for Pete Carroll.
Next one we've got, he's been at this school for a while, is Andrew Toole.
Oh, Andy Toole's at he's in Pittsburgh. He's at Robert Morris.
Good job.
Nice.
Got another one.
Coming back.
Okay, next guy. His team is now ranked.
Wait, John Thompson. John Thompson was at Georgetown and
Yes.
Princeton. So I get that right.
Yep.
Even though he's not coaching.
Yep. Yeah, if we had gone back 5 years, I'll give you a bonus one too. Sidney Johnson.
Sidney was at Princeton, right?
Yep.
And then he took Fairfield. He took Fairfield. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Doing good.
Yep.
Here we go. You got nationally ranked team.
National ranked team in.
That's not Fran?
Not Fran. Chris Mooney.
Oh, he went to Princeton.
Yep.
Because he was like coached at Air Force too, and then he's at Richmond. Yeah.
Richmond. Yep. Last one we got is.
Now wait, have we picked one that doesn't run Princeton in matchup zone yet, except Fran?
I
don't think Martin does either. Mike Martin.
Martin doesn't, and I don't think Andy Toole does it a ton either. So
yeah, I bet he doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't think Deshaun Burke was running much Princeton.
I don't think he was.
Breaking that off.
Looking back on it, he was not running Princeton. He was just kind of
that kid.
Last one is Matt Langle.
Oh, shoot. Matt Langle.
Patriot guy.
It's not Lehigh, because I know it's Brett at Lehigh. Holy Cross.
Nope, we got Colgate.
I'm glad I know that Manning Patriots. That's no disrespect, but you want me to name the NDCAC, Mayville State, Valley City State, Dickinson State, the whole University of Mary, Minot State. I could name some NAIA schools for you, some D2 schools. but I'm new, to the Northeast on that. So that's okay. So I missed 3 or 4.
You missed 3. You got 7 out of 10. That's impressive. I like that. 70%. That's a passing grade.
These did get degrees, baby.
I will say one thing, because you talked about it on there, and they talked about the best place to play in the Ivy. I have been fortunate enough to watch a game at the Palestra and actually take a foul shot there, and it's really, really cool. Yeah, it's a really cool venue.
Let's just get this right. You didn't take a foul shot during a game.
I did not play during a game. No,
I
ended at high school.
Yep. So there's a lot of cool places out there to play, and they talked about them, and Moby Arena was fantastic when it was rocking, and so was Pinnacle Bank Arena and the Bison Sports. Every place you ever go, you love. Louis Lee Fieldhouse and the RA facility. It's every place I've ever been a head coach, but when you're at some of these places, you can just, it's just like, even, the historic, like when you go through the campuses, it's like one of my assistants always said, man, this is just like we're like in a movie, because it's, you've got like the brick and, and the ivy on the brick, and just, like just some of these places, you walk into, Durham, in Durham, North Carolina, you walk into what's the place called? Cameron Indoor Arena, and which is so different because so then you go 8 miles away or whatever to North Carolina, where they used to have Carmichael Arena, which is a cool little place, and then they built the Dean Dome, which is 22,000 massive structure of people. Like it's more like Syracuse and that stuff than the little arenas. So it's just this wide variety. The only places I truly don't like are the dual hockey basketball arenas, just because of the way they're built, and it's kind of this gradual lower, there's this lower stuff, and then the domes aren't that great, when you watch the Final Fours and stuff. But where else are you going to get 90,000 people at a game? And you could probably sell 200,000 tickets if you wanted to. So, football's been messing around, going over to Ireland and places. Maybe basketball will go play in Wembley or something like that, play an outdoor game in Wembley. Maybe that should be our next project.
I like that. That's a good one. I like
We'll
that.
play Oxford University. You think they got any ballers over there? We'll meet at Wembley.
I'd love to see their scouting reports, though.
Detailed.
Yep.
Detailed. Well, what do you think of current basketball, man? I mean, Kentucky getting run off the floor by Georgia Tech. Yikes. Big Blue Nation, not happy, not in a good place.
Worst start since 2000, 2001. I mean,
It's going to get worse, too, because Calipari knew the other day when he did the bit about the fans barking at him about the scheduling, said he shouldn't be tested for COVID. He should be tested for drugs. He's no dummy, man. This man knows what he's got. And I'm sure he'll get him turned around because he does. He figures it out. But it's going to take a little bit of time. We lost the game of the century, 1-2 Baylor Gonzaga. That's too bad.
I know everybody was looking forward to that one. We had a couple other good ones over the weekend. The Marquette, Wisconsin finish.
Wow, how about that tip in? Big time play. We don't get the box out of the big. That's and that's the difference. Games like that, and your lower level teams losing to lower teams in your league. That's what hurts you when it comes to getting 8 or 9 teams in the NCAA tournament rather than 5 or 6. It's just little losses here and there that pile up. And I'm not, saying exactly this situation. I'm just using an illustration of how that you're always, as a conference coach, like in that game, as a Big Ten coach, you were cheering for Wisconsin. I used to get more texts in the Big Ten ACC Challenge when we'd win, and we had really good success in the Big Ten ACC. But we'd win, like we beat Clemson on the road or whatever. And man, it's Izzo, Painter, all the guys paying attention, lighting you up like good win, because they know what it means for the conference.
We went 5-2. We had some really good success in the ACC.
We lost. Let's see, we lost in overtime, I think, at Clemson, and at home to Miami, a team that at least won one game, maybe even 2 in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
They were always good games.
Yes, they were. Really, really hard-fought, competitive games.
And speaking of that, don't we have that coming up soon?
Yep. This week is the annual showcase. So, we got a couple big games this week. I know before we get into those real quick, just wanted to give a shout out to Bellarmine, their transition D1. They won their first D1 game over the weekend. They beat Howard.
Cheers. But by the way, talking to shout outs, Griff, the stat man, who came up with the coaches of Division One, Ivy League Division One coaches. So if we missed anybody, it's on Griff, the stat man. And because we just believe in him unconditionally. We don't even fact check him or anything. No, he's great.
It's just like pardon the interruption. You just got to trust the guy.
Yeah. He could fact check us a lot, and we'd be in trouble. All right.
Big matchups this week. I'll go over a couple of them, and we'll see who you got and who you like. So, first one, Creighton at Kansas.
Ooh, that's a good game. So I think if Kansas had their crowd, I just don't think Kansas. I'm picking Creighton because I just think their perimeter is good or better than Kansas's, and Kansas can't. Where I think the interior play of Creighton, is just okay. We're talking a high national level. We're not talking about just any schmo playing basketball. We're talking about top 25 teams, and I think relevant to that, they're just okay inside. But I don't know that Kansas can really make them pay, and without that home court advantage of the crowd and everything goes with. Rock, chalk, the whole deal, man. It's like there's ghosts up there getting you. The only chance Kansas got is if the ghosts hop in there and tap out Mitch Ballock's 3-point shots. It's the only chance they got.
That's a coming home game for Mitch. He's from that area.
Sure, he's from right outside of
Yep.
Lawrence.
Big Ten ACC Challenge. You got Carolina at Iowa.
Wow. How about Iowa's schedule? They had Gonzaga canceled earlier, didn't they, or not? Or are they still playing Gonzaga? Maybe that's coming up.
I think that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
They got a good schedule.
They're not jacking around with a schedule, Fran.
Nope.
Boy, Carolina's pretty good. Where's that game at? It doesn't matter where it's at.
No.
They're all neutrals, really.
It's at Iowa.
I'm picking Fran's not going to be happy. Oh, I'm sticking with the podcast. I'm taking Fran. Taking Iowa. Got to stay loyal to the brand.
I don't know. That wasn't great luck for Ben Jacobson and Craig Smith. So
hey,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, somebody else lost last week too after they were on my podcast. I forget who it was. That's why I took the Ivy League guys. I knew I was safe for the season.
They got nothing to lose.
They joined me in the undefeated ranks of coaching.
We got two more from the challenge. We got Illinois at Duke and Michigan State at Virginia.
I'm taking Michigan State. I think Duke just got beat at home. Who beat them at home? Michigan State.
Yes. That was just in the Champions Classic.
Yeah. So I don't think they can lose to two Big Ten teams in a row. Sorry. I'm sorry. I've just changed my mind. Illinois wins. Total homer. Brad Underwood did the cast. You can't pick a cast against it. We had a bad week a couple weeks ago with Northern Iowa and Utah State. And then Smitty gets COVID. Craig Smith gets COVID. I'm sticking with the Big Ten on this. How about this? What if, because there's all different kinds of protocols per league. What if you were due to host a game? Oh, no, just play in a game. But you had to forfeit it if you had to go, if you lost some guys to COVID. So let's say Gonzaga would have to forfeit to Baylor, okay? Let's just say this. Do you think teams and players would take the restrictions more seriously? Do you think everybody would test more accurately or more often? If you said, I'm just saying, it's a weird time.
Yeah.
It's a pandemic. You can't do it. It's just a friend of mine texted me that, and I thought it was kind of interesting. And that was a friend. And so I thought, I wonder, that would be, first of all, it's wrong to do. We all know that. Yeah. But, you want to get people in line, I think you got to do it. But nobody's going to do it, and they shouldn't do it. This is why discussions like this is why we have probably, I'm pretty sure, the best podcast in the history of mankind.
Yes, I would definitely say that. I think that's a very interesting point. That all it takes is that one person. You look at the Ravens, and they had 23 guys out.
God, yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, we had 4 different strains of COVID.
Kansas State had 19 players out every game in football this year.
I don't know how else you can do that other than just blocking everybody in hotels. And that's kind of what the NBA did.
But that's hard on your mental capacity too. Let's just hope the vaccine works and we can get it. And by the time we get through the spring, that this thing is under control.
Yeah. I think that'd be great for everybody. Everybody's tired of their basements.
Yes, Coach. Well, I tell you what, we're not tired of is college basketball. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We're going to have – I know you want to talk about name, image, likeness. That's going to be a whole new discussion. But I appreciate having you on this week, Coach. And I hope everybody's enjoying the podcast. These Ivy League guys are great. I've got some guest options this week. Still looking at it for next week. And as we get closer to Christmas, I really like what a lot of the leagues are doing, playing on Christmas Day. You can't go home anyway. Let's just play. And I think that's really cool. I think some of the best family Christmases can be sitting around watching mom and dad watching their child on TV, at least. If they can't be there, let's watch them hoop. They love that. So a couple big weeks coming up here as we get into Christmas, and looking forward to having some different guys on to talk about their experiences during this historically crazy season.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
All right, Coacher. Until next week, Inside the Mind of Miles. Subscribe on whatever. It's on everything, dude. I don't care if in your Liberia you can find a spot to listen to this podcast or watch it on YouTube, even from the field of 68. Give us a rating. We accept 5-star ratings only. And make sure and review the fact that it's got to be a positive review or we just delete it. Can we do that? Can we delete it?
We actually did that. You can only hit 5 stars.
Later. See you next week, folks. See you, Greg.
Hey, Coach.